Hello and a very good morning to you, our dear viewers. This is obviously Times and Seasons exclusively on Faith Today TV. Welcome to yet another insightful, encouraging conversation here where we have just interesting and intriguing conversations as we get deeper into knowing who really is this man, Bishop Peter Ndungu. Thank you for the engagement that you're having with us on our social media platforms and on the number on your screen. And obviously, as you can see today, we have three people. We have an interesting conversation to have with them. And I'd just like to introduce the people that I have here with me on set today. Hi, Bishop.
Hi, Juliet. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
It's been a wonderful day, though, warm and humid.
Yes.
But we thank God for the seasons.
Yes, we do. The times
Yeah.
and the seasons, indeed.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think just like
amazing.
the weather, we also go through different seasons.
Yes.
And I appreciate all of you for joining us in this program. Thank you. Today you're in for a blessing, encouragement, hope building, whatever. You like it.
I'm sure they will. And of
Yeah.
course, on my far right, we have Jackie with us. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Juliet.
So I do not want to water down what you do. So I'd just like you to briefly introduce yourself to our dear viewers.
All right. Good morning, viewers. It's really a pleasure to be with you and to be with you, Bishop and Juliet, and the team that is hosting us. And our viewers, karibu sana. This is Jackie. One of the things that I do is I'm in the field of counseling psychology. So I'm engaged in counseling and therapy, as some of us may call it. And I'm also a coach and a trainer in the area of public speaking and leadership skills training. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to a lovely conversation.
For sure. I'm sure this will be very interesting. And like you've heard, our dear viewers, Jackie here is in the field of psychology, therapy and everything. And why do we have Jackie here with us is because last week we were talking about faith. And one of the things that Bishop, you mentioned is how having faith in some of the hard seasons that you're going through in life is actually really key. And also in a chapter of your book, a few chapters actually, you let us in on some of the things that you've gone through, the hard seasons, like you're saying. Seasons in life are just like the weather that we have around here, winter, summer, autumn. And for us here in Africa, it's just rainy season and hot season. And I'd just like for us to have a conversation on grief and loss and get to understand your story. First of all, get to know the testimony of, going through this tragedy and this difficult thing. And obviously, Jackie here is going to shed some light on this as well. Yeah, I'm sure this is going to give you some encouragement and give you hope, like we've said. And yeah, just sit tight, enjoy, and enjoy this conversation. So Bishop, take us through this season and this tragedy, like you call it in your book, The Darkest Hour.
Well, there are many tragedies in life, so maybe there's
There's one in particular
you are referring to.
Yes. Well, probably our viewers actually have no idea, but you talked to us about losing your first wife. You are still very young in marriage. You are a young pastor, pastoring, of course, Overcoming Faith Church. And yeah, this is a season that was not easy, season that left you with a lot of questions. And knowing you as a man of faith, I'm sure this was a test of this faith indeed.
Yeah, indeed, it was faith shaking, faith testing. I think I remember so well. This was in 1998. And I'd resigned from the Kenya police in the 1995 and entered into ministry and business. And I was doing well, ministering in Githurai 45. And then doing business in Kikuyu, Gikomba, and many other places in the city, selling anything that can be sold.
That's true.
I was selling clothes, electronics, utensils, furniture, second-hand, new, anything that I was making, the covers for the Bibles, anything just to make money. And then, God was blessing my business, my ministry. And I remember this fateful Sunday. We left our house in Kikuyu and we drove to Githurai. God has, blessed us through our business. We had bought a new car. my first car, and Toyota 100. So, I mean, we drove all the way to Githurai.
Yeah.
We had great ministry, as usual. We were not even many, maybe 20, 25 people.
Yeah.
And I was faithfully serving them, ministering, and doing the best I can. They loved me, and we had worked together because at the time we were even 10 or less.
Yeah.
And going back home, then from there, actually from church in Githurai, we went to Dandora. We had another church there, and we had a fundraiser. I still remember. We were buying a tent for the church because they were renting in a small room that had no ventilation, no windows, so it was really hot.
Yeah.
It was like being in an oven.
I can imagine.
And so we went there, raised some good money, and we are going back home driving with my wife and my niece, and I'm the one driving.
Yeah.
And we were like 100 meters to our house where we lived.
Yeah.
Then, just not too far from Kikuyu town.
Yeah.
And we had actually turned to leave the main road that goes to Kikuyu town, and now to get to our house.
Yeah.
We are happy. The day was good. Great ministry. Of course, tired after a whole day of ministry. It's about 7 or 7:30 in the evening. And then all of a sudden, I didn't realize there's somebody while we were preaching, somebody was drinking the whole day.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Somebody was thinking, well, it's Saturday or rather Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't go to church, but I can go drinking. And so when he had turned and, left the road, he lost control of the car he was driving. I still remember Subaru. In America, they call it Subaru. And they came and hit our car on the left-hand side where my wife was seated. And, it was a bad accident, fatal accident. I don't know who came, Good Samaritan. They rushed us to Nairobi Hospital all the way from Kikuyu. And for me, I wasn't badly injured. And then I'm not even knowing what is happening with my wife, what is happening with my niece who was seated at the back, again on the left.
Yeah.
But they were badly injured. And then all of a sudden, I saw the doctors coming to where I was. I was just agonizing in a lot of pain, not physical pain, but emotional pain for me. And I'm wondering, what is this all about? What happened? Where is my wife? Where is my niece? Here we are in a hospital, and we have been involved in an accident. It was a tough evening. Nobody knows at this time. My family is not aware. The church is not aware. And, I saw the doctors coming to where I was seated because they realized for me I was okay somehow. And so they were taking care of my wife and my niece. And they came, and I could tell they were recording. My wife was expecting our first baby. She was about 8 months pregnant.
Wow.
So, and so they started asking me questions. And they asked me one of my ever hardest, question. And they asked me, well, between the mother and the baby, who would you want to give priority or rather to save?
Goodness. That's a hard question.
Sometimes life will ask you hard questions. And I thought, my goodness, this is a hard, and I can tell they are recording. And I can tell here, things are not, and I think as much as I remember, I told them, if you can save the mother, at least there is hope.
Yeah.
And all that. And I don't know I can't remember exactly what else I said. But after maybe another 20, 30 minutes, they came back and they said, too bad, we could not save either. Both of them did not make it. For me, it's like a bad dream. And from here, I'm wondering, what has just happened? are you telling me I've lost my wife and our baby, and here we are? I mean, it's like we had a good life, and now there are so many. It's like now my head is running at a very high speed, and so many questions without an answer.
Yeah.
What is this all about? What did I do? Why do I deserve this? God, why have you forsaken me? What is happening? It was such a, and I'm here, alone.
Yeah.
My family is not there yet. I think by now, the hospital people have started calling my family and they're on their way. My sister, my brother who lived in Thika. And I'm just there now agonizing and wondering, what is this all about? And then when the dust settled, I realized this is the reality. It actually happened.
Yeah.
I've lost my wife and our first baby. And it's not that they're sick, they'll come, or they have gone on a journey, they will come back. It is the end.
Yeah.
And so that was beginning of a new life for me all over again. A new season, totally. It's like you have been born again into a new life that you never expected.
Yeah.
And so this was very painful for the next 1 year, 2 years of going through the motions of, mourning and bereavement, the motions of pain and loss, and so many questions without an answer, especially the question why. Because you can answer the other questions, where, who, how, and all that.
Yes.
But the question, why?
And maybe I want to throw this question to Jackie because you were saying how, of course, now it feels like a bad dream. And Jackie, you can tell us a bit about what goes through somebody's mind immediately, like such horrible, such tragic news, or, you're just informed. And, sometimes doctors, nothing against doctors, but you might find some who will just throw the news. Some will, it's the profession, so they will probably not even do it empathetically.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just take us through, like, what goes through somebody's mind immediately they receive, like, such tragic news.
Thank you, Bishop and Juliet. Now, when you go through loss, and in this case, appreciating that it's quite a difficult loss that even has a spouse and a child.
Yeah.
And I've heard Bishop talk about, he thought it was a dream. And that's what happens at first. You're in that, it's too shocking to imagine that it can even be real. And in most cases, the shock is to help you to cope with the situation as it is.
Okay.
So when the doctors came and gave him the news, I think at first, even by the time the doctors were coming, you even had started anticipating that there may be a loss. So there was an anticipated loss. Then it really happens. But I know even at the point of anticipated loss, you're still wishing and saying, God, please, I want them to make it.
Yeah.
Then it happens and you're given this news. So the first thing is you go into shock. That is, you're like in a dreamland. It cannot be true. And you're convincing your mind that it cannot be true. You don't even want to think about it, actually.
Yes.
It's too heavy to think about. Yeah. And this is a grief cycle, according to a lady called Elizabeth, who we depend on a lot as we talk about grief, the cycle. And then there is the denial, where now the minute the reality is almost hitting, but you're still in denial that it's still not, it's like it's not happening.
Yeah.
And we call it a defense mechanism, a coping mechanism, so that you don't feel the overwhelm of the emotions too much. Yeah, so possibly go through that denial process. And of course, now from denial, it's where the reality strikes and you realize it is real. You wake up and realize I am now I. And you're wondering, how do I cope with life moving forward? It's such a painful season now when you have to deal with the reality. And that is a stage where you say now it is great if you can get help, even through therapy, so that you're able to process all the emotions that come. There are very many emotions associated with grief. Yeah. Sometimes there is the guilt that comes as a result of maybe sometimes even blame. I don't know whether, Bishop, you went that state where you're feeling like, what if I had done this? Maybe if I had just moved up. Maybe if I had, you're bargaining kind of.
Yes.
So it's that stage, you actually get almost like depressed. It's almost like a depressive stage. Now, when you start realizing there's a lot of emotions, there's guilt, there is blame, there's anger. Sometimes not only anger at yourself, but other times it's even anger at the person who passed on. Like, why did you leave me? Why did you have to go? I thought we had said we will grow old together and enjoy old age together. Yes. And so that's usually a very heavy season. And it is that season when you really need a lot of support. Okay, of course, all the way from the beginning, you need a lot of support. But I realized that after, for example, in our setup, many times after we go through what they call maombolezi, people leave. And yet this is when reality is really hitting that she is gone, like in his case. And he has to go now through that season. From there, then you'll be moving, after you go through that season of the depression, through help, which he talks about even going up to 2 years, then you can start what we call the acceptance. Now I'm accepting that, yes, we have moved from I become an I, and start accepting that she's not coming back. I have to recreate my life as alone. I have to start looking at life, recreate meaning out of a life that we were two, and now I am alone. And possibly as we go through, we'll continue to unpack what this is.
Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting. Wow. And I hope we are learning, our dear viewers. So, Bishop, I'm now back to you because you're talking about now 1 to 2 years. But I'm also just imagining how difficult this must have been, because you still have a congregation of about 20, 25 people looking up to you. You're their leader, you're the pastor. How was this now? From now you've grieved, you've gone for the funeral, grieving, obviously, I don't think it ends. But now there's the expectation from the people around you, your church. How was it going back there?
Well, it was difficult. I mean, like, I remember when I first went back to church. And one of the leaders in the church said, this was after maybe a few weeks, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And his students said, our pastor is so strong. He's back. And now he's going to preach, and everybody is clapping. And for me, I felt like I want to just go through the door and run away and forget about
this ministry.
Because I'm actually coming back somehow, maybe to be ministered to be encouraged, to seek help. I'm wounded. But for them, it's like, our pastor is so strong. That is behind him, life can go on. I mean, that was difficult. So it took time. The first year was very hard. The second year was, getting easier. The first year was like very depressing, wondering, who am I? I mean, am I now single? Am I a young man? Am I married? Am I what? Who am I? I mean, trying to discover and ask myself all these questions. Who am I? I mean, in the whole story and whole scenario. I mean, and asking, God, why did you allow this? And you feel pain, like she's saying, you're bitter and all that. Sometimes because, after the insurance paid back the car, again, I was able to get another car, and sometimes we'll be driving from here. I still lived in Kikuyu for some time, and I'm driving Wayakiwe all the way to Kikuyu at night, and I'm driving so fast. I didn't want to go back home at night. I didn't want to go back because, again, if I'm going there in the evening, I'm all by myself. I feel like the house is so empty. We were used to having family, coming back home together, and now I'll be even driving so fast and wondering, I mean, even if something happens to me and I die in an accident or a crash, I mean, it's okay. Wow. I mean, I'm just here. It's like life has lost the taste and the meaning. So, and sometimes I would go to the house and I don't even want to turn on the lights. I just go in, maybe I ate wherever I visited. And that's the time I would want to visit all the people, friends, and family.
I'm sure you
at least to push the evening, and that support is very important. And I'll get into the house, open the door, go, because I know where I'm going, straight to bed, sleep. I don't want even to turn on the lights, and so it was difficult. It was challenging. That moment it was a big pain.
Yeah. And now hearing what you're saying, I think this is what you're saying, getting into depression. And maybe at the time you just didn't have the words for it.
No, I mean, you don't think you're depressed.
That's what you're going through,
You think you're going on with the life. You think you'll be okay. Some days are very good. Other days you feel like, oh my, I am going down. Other days you feel like you're up there. I mean, those swings.
And I think now, I know because there's an expectation that people usually have when someone is grieving, where it's like they have a timeline for your grief. So you can only talk about the person you've lost for so long. And like I usually find people have a double standard of some sort, because it's like, okay, you've lost your loved one. We're giving you a timeline. This is how long we expect you to keep talking about them. But then if you also maybe sort of not talk about them again, it's like, are you happy they went? People have some sort of double standard. And like you're saying, some days you're having a good day, other days you're really low. I don't know whether there was ever a time, and maybe once Bishop answers this, Jackie, you can also talk about the same, where you had the guilt of being happy. You're having a good day, and then you probably feel, should I really be happy and I've lost my wife? I don't know whether you experienced that.
Thank you for that. And I think having people around you, the church family, my family, people who are praying for me, supporting me, visiting with me. I think for me that was very, very crucial. Of course, you are left with all these questions, even when you are sleeping or driving around. Why did she go so early? Like we had neighbors who were, a couple that were fighting almost every night. For us, I mean, they will come home, maybe they're drunk and all that. And you're thinking, for us, we had a good family. We are coming from church. We are serving God. Why us? I mean, other families, maybe some are even enduring. Some are fighting. They want to kill each other. As we are serving you, we are a good family. I mean, those questions are there. Of course, you don't get an answer. Some of them are answered along the way after many years.
Okay, maybe Jackie?
Yeah, one of the things that I would like to say, when Bishop talks about the cycles, today you're high in the process where you've started the healing journey. Tomorrow you're low. You find that this cycle is not like a linear cycle, and it's true. When you're going through loss and grief, one of the things that makes it complicated is that today you think you're okay. I mean, you even come from therapy and you feel, I feel like I am healing. I'm doing very well. And then at some point tomorrow, you could find a trigger has happened. The trigger could be, you even see somebody maybe even who looks like her, or you hear a song that you really used to enjoy, like in ministry together, or it's a Sunday and he was with her in the service, and here he is. I'm imagining there was even a place where she used to sit. You used to sit, and so you come and see it is empty. There are so many things out that would trigger that. And so you find that it's such a cycle for quite a period of time before now the reality comes in and you start adjusting and accepting. Like he said, so that you start creating meaning as an individual. The other thing that Bishop has talked about is coming to church 2 weeks after. 2 weeks after. You can imagine how difficult that is, because you haven't even started the grieving process, because I want to think 2 weeks after is after maybe the funeral, and you're trying to settle yourself back. And you find this is a state where ministry leaders sometimes, the expectation of the people is that he's strong. Like somebody would say, he's a strong man. You're very strong to be here.
You want to portray that.
Yes. And so you find that that can even complicate the grieving, because you may not even grieve because of that. You almost like put it at the back of your mind that all is well. But possibly when you're alone, you find, wow, my emotions it's not getting any better. And that's where I would say the idea of self-awareness is very important. And of course, now having the knowledge that it is okay for me to grieve. I am as human as another party. It's thinking through as you and looking at where am I and what is happening to me and accepting the season. And also, this is where we say that the support group can also bring in that support in helping you realize that you're grieving, you need some time. You may not even be able to do that, to give yourself that time, because even making decisions at that point becomes very difficult. You know, when you're going through loss and grief, and there are times you make a decision and you realize, I just didn't make the best decision because I was not in the best state of mind. Yeah. So this is a place where we say, depending on your role in the church and now being the bishop and running this church, that it's great. Let me look at myself and accept that I am human and I need to grieve. And you may not take the 2 years out, but it's where you tell yourself, I need some time that really I can grieve like any other human being. Yes.
Beautiful. You've reminded me of a book I've read. I don't remember the author, but the book is They Cry Too. It's actually on leaders, church leaders, ministry leaders, pastors. And it was actually a very interesting read because it talks about the same thing we're having a conversation on because of this expectation. Because like you're saying, Bishop, you want to even show up as this strong man, strong woman, because it's like, also you think I'm strong, so I have to be strong. But of course, I'm also sure right now probably things have sort of changed in the churches where at least you have more pastors. So there's like someone else can hold fort for you for a period of time. But I also acknowledge the fact that probably you also went back to church after those 2 weeks because you just can't stay in that empty house alone. It's like there's no one else. You can't stay in the house alone. You also just crave that community. And I think for us, even as church members and even church leaders who are even watching us and pastors, it's important for us to, like you're saying, give them space to grieve, give them that room, and just let them at least maybe take a sort of a break, but also don't isolate them. Because they also need to be part of this community. Because anyway, being alone, like Bishop is saying, you don't even want to go back home. You'd rather midnight.
And you feel like when you're weak and crying and mourn, you feel like you are, it's like a disservice to them. You want to prove I am strong, not for yourself, now for them. I mean, which is not, it's good to realize as a leader, as a pastor or any other leader, leaders are human beings. It doesn't matter whether you are the pastor or the bishop or the president or whoever, the CEO. We are human. And we are touched by issues and setbacks and losses and all that. So I think you don't try to prove a point or show people I am strong. For me, I don't cry. And people feel nice, they feel nice that, wow, he's so strong. People even come to funeral and say, wow, did you see her? Did you see him?
They were not crying.
He was smiling. He was okay. Little do they know, when you are done with the people, you go home and you're crying and you're mourning. And it's those cycles allow them just to go through the cycles.
Wow, amazing. I love that. I don't know whether, Jackie, you have anything else to add as we are closing off this episode?
Yeah, I would encourage that, like Bishop has said, it's always important to know we are all human and we have different cycles. Loss of a spouse is very complicated and painful. And you can see this is a loss that has even the loss of a child. And the complications about losses is that most times losses of loved ones are not only the loss of loved ones, they are multiple. So you find like you lose a spouse, you have lost company, you've lost a partner, you've lost somebody you played with, somebody you prayed with, you've lost the we, you've lost identity, you are a Mr. because of, and she was a Mrs. because of. So that is one thing that is important to recognize, that there are so many. If you would sit to unpack the loss of a spouse, and in this case, even loss of a child, you realize there was so much losses, loss of hope. A future that we wanted to create together is gone. Dreams and goals that we had set together as a family are gone. And so it's very, very important that anytime you're going through loss, seek help. You have a support group, and not only support group, go for therapy and allow yourself to grieve. When you don't get through the process, it can take really long and it becomes complicated grief. By the way, you can grieve even for 10 years for a loved one. Yes.
Wow. All right. We will definitely continue with this conversation next week. Our time is far by gone, but I would just like to encourage you, our dear viewer who is watching us today, that this may be a season that you're going through in life. Sometimes it's encouraging to even hear that someone else has gone through something that you're going through, to know that you're not alone. And like we keep saying, with the numbers on our screen, you can reach out to us if you want someone to pray with you, if you're looking for even leaders and pastors to walk with you. As always, you can always come here at Overcoming Faith Church Ministries House of Faith, right here opposite Garden City. And we will continue with this conversation on grief and loss with Bishop and Jackie. Have a blessed weekend.